Hi, my name is St.Claire, and this is the mythology of geography and Persephone and purification. So, I will be discussing how the experience of religious processions on the sacred way embody the themes of the Homeric hymn to Demeter. And I just thought that would be really interesting to see how the Greeks would manipulate the physical landscape to um, conform to some of the themes that are in the Homeric hymn to Demeter. So, I'll just start off with this quote here. The early history of our site, like that of many prehistoric elements, was influenced by its geographic position. So this is by George Malonis, one of the sites, one of the sources that I used for the project, and this is about Eleusis and the Elysian Ministries. So, I first want to emphasize the ge generally what Greece is like, and generally Greece is full of sea. The sea is what surrounds it, and the mountains are a prominent geographical feature of Greece, which contributes to the unique location of Eleusis in the Thriasio plain. So this played a very significant factor in the creation of the Pan-Hellenic sanctuary at Eleusis and the Eleusinian mysteries. And I think the Athenians understood this uniqueness of location, and this also played a significant role in the religious processions that would eventually take place on Eleusis. So here I just make a reference to one of the many sources that I did was, or one of the three, excuse me, was a short history of a long story by Carol G. Thomas, which connects the mythology of Greece with its natural environment. And, it's interesting because the three brothers, Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus, um, all divide the natural world, with the exception of Hades, in the sense that he has the underworld, is that they all are divided. The natural world is divided among them. So the mountains in the sky are belong to Zeus, while Poseidon rules the seas and Hades the underworld. And this is actually quite reflective in the sense that, majority of Greece is mountains, which were steep and treacherous to climb. And mythologically, these were embodied in the idea of Mount Olympus, which is a really big idea in the sense that, um, it's a place where it's untouchable and it's the home of the gods as well as the throne of Zeus. So, in a way that Eleusis is, there are natural barriers between Eleusis and many various regions of Greece because of mountains and also because of the sea that is created by um the island of Salamis and the Gulf of Elefsina. So as we continue, we see that the mountains and the sea played a large role in the creation of Eleusis. And the sources that I have, talk about how Eleusis was really sheltered from attack by the natural environment that it was founded in, and how this may have contributed to its foundation as a city. And here's a map. I actually really like this map because it specifically identifies the natural barriers between Eleusis and the other parts of Greece. So we have Eleusis, and then we have Mount Agalio, which is actually, as we see here, is the border between Eleusis and Athens, and then Mount Parnitha to the north, which to the north here we have Boeotia, which is where Thebes is, and we can see that this is a natural barrier between Eleusis and Thebes. And then between Eleusis and Salamis is the Gulf of Elefsina, which is where the eventual Battle of Salamis took place, which is a big deal for Greek history, Pan-Hellenic especially. And then to the west, well, this is not really close to Eleusis itself. It's still, an important aspect to have because it's far west, but still important is that the Isthmus of Corinth. So, Sparta, Peloponnesus, the Peloponnesian Wars, if they wanted to eventually reach, excuse me, Athens, they would have to travel through the Thriasio plain, which is where Eleusis was located. And then I just have the citations for the images here. And then here I just go to, expanding upon the points that I made previously, is that Eleusis and the Thriassic plain, were a vital link in communication between various regions in Greece, Boeotia to the north, and the Peloponnese to the southwest, and the Isthmus of Corinth, that was the connection between the two. And just the experience of traveling through these mountains, and the dangers and opportunity that they held by traveling. And then we have, connecting to the Homeric hymn to Demeter, as well as, just seeing the artwork of this, is that, there's a theme of transition and change in the mythological founding of Eleusis. And, it tells the capture of Demeter's daughter Persephone by Hades. And, when Persephone is captured, the mountain peaks and the sea deeps rang with the sound of her divine voice. So that was very interesting to the reference of, two very prominent features of Greece, which is the mountains and the sea. They're very ubiquitous in Greek geography. And when we talk about the journey to Eleusis, the sacred way, it actually begins with the traveling across of the ford of the river Sisyphus to next to Athens. And next to this ford is a sanctuary dedicated to Meter and Persephone in a place called Skyron. And in the hymn, Persephone is permitted to go back to see her mother, but Hades tricks her by having her consume pomegranate seeds, the myth that many people at the time of Greece would know. And it's this transition between the underworld and the mortal realm that I find very interesting. And I believe that this is actually reflected a lot in the processions and traditions of Skyron. Skyron is actually an intermediate place, between Athens and Eleusis, a borderline. And it's interesting to see that because um it has a sanctuary in Skyrim that is dedicated to Meter and Persephone as well as Zeus. And I believe that, the cities and processions that were focused upon the purification of women were also indicative of the idea of Persephone switching between the underworld and the mortal world, as I mentioned earlier, and that this return to chaos, but also return to order, is a constant transition and exchange that is really emphasized in these processions in Greece. And then, we talked about the actual purpose of these processions, and um, it's interesting to note that while Skyrim was important to the sacred way, it was also a place where gambling and prostitution were common. The link between chaos and order, and how those two are constantly switching between one another. And I think that's really interesting when considering the fact that the um the festivals that took place there were about restoring order and the manipulation of the natural environment that was meant to emphasize the restoration order while still maintaining that it was a place of, sordid activity and change. And I think that's really important in the sense that it reflects the mythology or the story of the Homeric hymn where uh Persephone is constantly made to switch between being with her mother in the mortal realm, happy, but at the same time having to constantly go back to the underworld where Hades is. So yeah, I hope that we appreciate how the Greeks used physical geography to emphasize parts of the mythology and emphasize the stories and the purpose of many of the parts of the Homeric hymn through the physical landscape. So thank you for listening.